Hi guys, Recap Corner here. Today, we're gonna be doing a big breakdown to discuss our film Damage. Spoilers ahead. Be prepared and take care. The movie opens with John Brickner being released on parole. He had served 4 years of his 7-year sentence in prison due to his exemplary behavior and the guilt he felt for killing a man. After being released on parole, John moves to Seattle and starts working as a construction worker. One night, while at a bar, he notices that the waitress is being harassed by 2 men. John intervenes by attacking one of the men and demanding that he apologize to the girl before kicking him out of the bar. Impressed by John's behavior, the bar owner offers him a job. John takes on a second job as a bouncer at the bar. We see him being mistreated by his boss at his construction job. At the bar, a fight breaks out between 2 men and John steps in to break it up and expel the fighters. Impressed by John's strength, someone approaches him with a job offer, but John declines. One day, while working at a construction site, John is approached by Veronica, the wife of the man he killed. She informs John that she is applying for parole. John thanks her, but she tells him that she didn't do it because of the messages John had been sending her. Instead, she did it because her 8-year-old daughter needs a heart transplant. Blaming John for her husband's death, she asks him to pay the $250,000 fee for the surgery. John goes to his room and counts some of the money he has earned from his work, storing it in a ventilation hole. That night, while the bar waitress tries to get John to count his money, he asks her how to find the person who offered him a job earlier that day. She takes him to a man named Reno. John learns that Reno directs fighters to participate in legitimate fighting competitions. When John learns about the job, he refuses to join. Reno tries to convince him to stay by telling him that he can earn a lot of money by participating in the fights. One day at work, John's manager fires him despite his hard work and sincerity. Suddenly, the manager suffers a heart attack and John saves him. While waiting for the paramedics to arrive, John goes to see Veronica and tells her that he cannot pay for her daughter's surgery. Veronica starts yelling at John and shows him the letters he wrote to her while he was in prison. Her daughter Sarah comes out because of the noise, but her mother tells her to go back to bed. Sarah introduces her doll to John, which makes him feel pity for her. John promises Veronica that he will do his best to assist her. He goes to the fighting ring and gets a chance to join his first fight as a substitute for a fighter who fainted. John wins the fight despite being bitten and splits the money he earned with the other fighter who helped him get this opportunity. The following day, John comes back home and sees Reno and Frankie in his room. They want John to join more fights because he is earning money for them and they are short of cash. They visit another person called Deacon who is an investor, and Reno tries to persuade him to give John a chance to join the battles because he is skilled. But Deacon says John is not reliable and there is no long-term assurance. John requests a private conversation with Deacon. John tells Deacon he will obtain the money. A man called Nestor shows up to Reno where Reno owes him money. Nestor commands his men to kill Reno, but John steps in and makes a deal with Nestor to fight, and the loser will pay $10,000. Nestor accepts. A battle starts between John and one of Nestor's men. They are fighting and surrounded by a pack of dogs that would bite anyone who came near them. The battle is very intense, but John wins, and now John and Reno have enough money to go and see Deacon. John receives a call from Veronica. Frankie sees the caller's name on John's phone and questions him about it. Frankie tells John about her relationship with Reno and how Reno saved her life, but John doesn't care about that, and instead John asks Frankie about what Reno pawned. Later, John visits Veronica in the hospital. Sarah's condition was improving, but her health worsened and she was taken to the hospital. John tells Veronica that he is working hard to get money for Sarah. Veronica tries to be patient and John tells her that he will earn the money at Reno's place. Frankie recalls the name of a person who can help them, but Reno asks her to wait because they have just escaped his trouble with Nestor. But Frankie empathizes with John and tells Reno that John is not a money grabber. John gets angry at Frankie's words and tells her that John had killed a man in the past and that's why he was in jail. John asks Frankie if she considers John to be one of the good guys. He tells her that they need the money to pay off their debts. John listens to their whole conversation but is unmoved by it. Later, John joins multiple fights and wins all of them. John comes back to Frankie's place alone and questions her about her skill with the needle and asks her why she didn't go to medical school. Meanwhile, while Reno was playing with his friends, Val's men approached him and took him out of the building, beat him hard, and ordered him to pay $250, which is the amount he owed to Val. They threatened to harm Frankie if he did not pay the amount within the specified period. Then Reno sets up a fight between John and one of Nestor's men. John endures a hard fight and gets hit many times. Frankie wants to end the fight, but John persists and manages to knock down his rival with Reno's support. Later at the party, Reno tells him they have to wait some more. Then John gets an urgent call from Veronica and rushes to her apartment. There, he sees a letter from Veronica saying that the donor rejected her request. He also finds her in the bathroom, attempting to take her own life. John hurries to bring her to the hospital. In the waiting room, Frankie questions John about Veronica and he reveals everything to her. John sees marks on Frankie's wrist that show that Frankie tried to kill herself once and Reno rescued her. John visits Veronica and urges her to keep fighting. She says she regrets not giving her heart to her daughter Sarah, but John assures her that he will get the money. Reno sets up a fight for John with a $250,000 bet. Velsman traps Reno in the bathroom, but he says he will pay them after the fight ends. Frankie sees the men and is angry with Reno for hiding his plans from her. The fight starts and John wins, but Nestor demands that John kill his rival. John refuses and loses. Frankie hugs John while Val's men beat up Reno. On their way back, John learns that Reno is in debt to a guy named Val. John says Frankie should have warned him. Reno says it's none of his business. One day, John sees a car that has been following him for days. He gets in the car and they take him to an old man. The man says he owes John a favor because John rescued his brother-in-law when he was a construction worker. John says he needs money for a heart transplant for a girl named Sarah. John realizes that this person is Val, the one Reno is in debt to. Val gives John two choices, either pay Reno's debts or get his help to raise money for Sarah. John decides to help Reno. John brings Veronica home and she tells him about her life. She says her daughter is her greatest accomplishment. John says he didn't mean to kill her husband and that he acted in self-defense. John goes to see Deacon, but Deacon says he can't help him. John goes back to his home and gets his things ready. Then Reno shows up and thanks John for helping him clear his debts. Frankie tells John how Reno helped her by paying off her debts. Reno gets a call that a fight is ready. A fight starts after someone pushes an unknown person. Everyone is thrilled. He fights and it's the toughest fight. When John and his rival fall to the ground, it looks like John is dead, but he has some substance on him. When John gets up, he asks them to continue, but John ends up winning the fight. Veronica finds a donor for her daughter and saves her life. John gives back the jacket of Reno's father that he bought for him. Then Reno and John hug and everything is okay. Thank you for joining us into our review. We hope you had as much fun watching it as we did breaking it down for you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video from us.